Welcome to the first ever patio cast.
Patio cast. Oh, I like that.
Patio cast.
Okay, so one of the things that I think is most impressive about you guys is that there's two things. One, you understand how to work in a business as a married couple, which is impressive. So a lot of people can learn from that, I feel like. And then the other piece is that you understand that you had to give up good for great. And that's not easy to do.
Oh.
So what was it? And I think you mentioned off camera, like through our normal conversations, or previous conversations, of you really started to push for it in 2018. Like, what was that?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's always been just trying to move out of mediocrity and comfort.
Yeah.
Once I know I'm comfortable, then I'm sliding. Like I'm not, I'm not improving my mindset. I'm not improving my craft, my skills. Like, I've been doing physical therapy for so long, it became so monotonous and so boring. It was not a challenge anymore. So I felt like I reached the pinnacle of that career, and then I wanted to do something with Americ.
Yeah.
So
And you've been in physical therapy for how long?
26 years.
26 years.
So if you guys think about, because you're in therapy as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm an occupational therapist.
So occupational therapist. So if you think about that, you guys got the American dream. You have 3 kids. You have you got the bulldog. You've got the beautiful house.
Picket fence.
You got the picket fence, the 2.5 kids. Yeah. So you have all of that.
Yeah.
And you still wanted to move on from it. Like, I think there's a lot of people in this world that have difficulty moving on from something like that when they think they have an expectation for what greatness is, or what they have an expectation for what their life should look like, and then when they receive it, it does not give them the feeling that they expected.
Right.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would say that's very accurate.
Yeah, it's not unusual though for us to move on to like newer horizons and stuff like that. But we also we did take a look at our finances in 2017, 18, and we don't have pensions or anything like that. So we started to be like, what are we going to do now? Like, because the therapy, we've done it for so long and it's not giving us the financial security or that we really want and need to, to help our kids in college and stuff like that. So I think that was also a big weight on our shoulders and we also like to travel and we, and we couldn't do that with 3 kids. It was, we had to drive somewhere because we couldn't afford to, pick up and, and fly.
Even with the 2.
Right.
I mean, when you think about traditional professions that provide, I mean, you think medical and you think attorney, maybe CPAs in there, but like you think of like executive level stuff like that, and still you weren't satisfied financially, even though you weren't making bad financial decisions.
Right.
But it was just, there was something else. Like there wasn't something important enough in your life yet that you wanted to pursue instead of money.
Yeah. So definitely it was time.
Yeah.
And, ironically, through our conversations, in order to try to get more time, I was working more. So
that is a really unique approach.
Cycle.
Yeah. We
If
tried
I
that.
work more, I will have more free time.
Yeah.
So
subconsciously, I knew that I wanted more time.
Yeah.
And the only way that I,
Knew
because
what
I've been
to
doing
do.
it for, I'd say at that time about 22 years, 23 years, about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I started to realize that the only way that I can continue with this lifestyle is to continue working, at the same amount of hours. And if I wanted to go on a vacation, I had to work more hours in order to pay for that without going into debt.
Yeah, and I think I tested it in 2016. I had 3 jobs, and
That's why I could never get a job, is because you had them all.
Yes, exactly.
That's why I had to go into business.
That's exactly how it is. So I had 3 jobs, and I did that for 9 months, and I made an extra $16,000. And to this day, I regret that because I was working from 7 o'clock until 7 o'clock at night. I don't even know what happened with the kids at that time. I guess you took care of them. But I remember our daughter calling me on the way home, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, she obviously missed me, and I just so I quit. You know, I think I still kept 2 jobs, but I quit one of the jobs, but that's it didn't. So I put in all that time, and all I had to show for money wise was $16,000, which isn't a small amount of money.
Right.
But I learned from that is it's not worth it.
And then you got to give it back to the IRS.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you actually worked for free.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, after that, I was like, this is not working. And then, you know, Kevin read your book, and he, you know, brought me in, and I was just like, yeah, we got to do something different, because I've tried everything. I was a manager of a company. I was a assistant professor. Like I just did all these different therapy things, and it always was the same. It always led to the same outcome: work really hard and not get the money that I needed to help my family. So, was
that the first maybe physical time that you recognized I have to pursue something different and uncomfortable to gain what I actually want?
Yeah, for sure. I always thought that
as opposed to falling back into what we call dogma.
Yeah.
I'm going to fall back into just working harder.
Right.
Because I feel a lot of people get caught in this wheel where when they try to escape the wheel actually spins faster, and it's more difficult to get off of.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, out of all our friends, I would say we're one of the only ones that were able to recognize this, you know, and at the age that we were able to recognize it. So I think that we were blessed in that sense, that we always wanted something different, and we weren't afraid to go for something different, but it's not been easy.
Right.
Like it's a choice every day.
Yeah. Everybody always says, you know, you're so lucky that you have great kids, or you're so lucky that you have a great relationship. And that's where
luckily you didn't have to work for that at all.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But my awareness level started going up, because people would say that, and I knew that wasn't the case, but I started to realize, where was I really good at? I was good at family. I was good at relationships. I was good at, when I did spend time with the family, I excelled at it. But then I looked at why was that, and I was always, in order to get those things, it was always uncomfortable. You had to do things or ask questions, or, you know, and then when I went back to like finances and work, it was just comfortable. So I knew that was an imbalance. So.
That's a really good point. I didn't think of that. It's not easy to put in the hard work with your kids, or, you know, do all that. And we always were able to sacrifice for that.
Yeah. Like we've put in over 20,000 hours with patients. And that became an automatic. So that was really hard. And I think that's why it took us, longer than I would have expected, but probably it took us what it needed to take us to get to where we are today.
Yeah.
At this moment in time. So I actually have no regrets about it. I'm just glad that I was aware that imbalance in my life existed, and I was able to turn off all the outside influences in our life, like our family, our friends, because everybody they still think we're crazy.
They do. We are.
It's always good to be the weird one.
Yeah, we're the black sheeps. You know,
because we're always seeking out new things, and you know, constantly challenging ourselves. And I think that's foreign to people.
It is foreign, and it's not easy. Like, it's hard to do that because you're constantly uncomfortable.
Constantly, but. Yeah. That's where I've always, anytime, like I was saying, that imbalance, anytime I felt uncomfortable in my life, I started making progress.
Right. Yeah. When you go towards the uncomfortable and you just get over that hill, that's where the sweet spot is. And we've done that enough now that we know, like, when we get down and stuff like that, and we get upset or whatever it is, we just say, stick with it. It's right over there.
Is this something you guys consciously talked about?
We did. Remember, we would talk, because we were.
Who brought it up first?
I think it was me, right?
And how did you receive that?
Well,
Because a lot of people are scared of that conversation, that I want something different.
Well, that's
There's a
one
lot of
thing
insecurity in that
yeah.
conversation.
I think that's one thing where Kevin and I are not afraid to, and me especially. Oh, I just get in there. If if I have a question, I just ask it, or I just blurt it out, or however. And then Kevin will, he's such a saint. He'll take it on, and he'll be like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So I think that I'm good at that. In terms of
Yeah.
But you were always looking for something different.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we were just so busy when our kids were little, and we didn't, and we were very, we were very focused on that when they were little.
And we're in skills, like the jobs that we have suit our personalities well. Like we're problem solvers, and when you're a therapist, you are solving problems. So, that definitely. Again, but you get pulled back into that comfort zone of doing that. But when you do it for as long as we've done it, it just becomes monotonous.
Yeah,
and the challenge is not there. So I think it was, easy for us to start asking questions, and boredom setting in with specific to profession.
I think that, I think
that would be
it's definitely, if you're not happy, you have to go towards why you're not happy. Like you have to do that, or else you're just gonna keep in the same spot, you know. And I don't know why I don't know exactly why we chose to do that. I think it's just who we are. But I
mean you don't know what the catalyst was for wanting to change? Because one of the things I was going to ask, because you kind of led into it right there, without knowing it, was that what made you okay with moving on from something that you were very good at? Because a lot of people aren't okay with to put it out there, just to suck at something. Because when you start something new, and in your case, you guys chose real estate. When you first start something, you're not going to be good at it.
No, and that's really.
So how do you go? Like what is a tangible step that you can take from I am moving from something I am very, very good at, but potentially peaked out on, to quote unquote risk, into moving into something that I'm not good at, but has an unlimited ceiling? Like, what is a step that you can take to get there? Because there's a lot of people that go, well, I need that 50 grand a year. Well, everybody needs the 50 grand a year.
Right.
Until you no longer do, because you chose to do something different. So what's that step that you're able to take?
Well, it's recognizing that you have a fear of loss, like of losing that in that scenario, 50 grand. But you have to have the awareness that beyond that fear is the life that you want. That gives you an unlimited potential, whereas I realized.
So you had to create that picture of the life that you actually wanted.
Yeah.
So you guys had to talk and actually and develop that, not discover it, develop it.
Yeah, and that took multiple years of just being honest about that, and then realizing that I have capped out in that particular space. I can't. I mean, I could have. We talked about that. I could have started franchising physical therapy businesses, and doing it that way. But that would have taken away from the family. So I didn't want to do that. So I was looking at things that would start giving me more time for less work.
That's good for the recording.
Yeah.
Smack the. You're welcome, everybody with headphones. Yeah.
But that's where I knew I was very aware that I was tapped out at what I could get out financially from what I was doing currently. So then I started looking for other vehicles.
And I think you have to be aware of what your actions are affecting your family. Because that's why I took on 3 jobs. I wanted to make more money. And then, there's a bee right around my head. No. So I took on 3 jobs. I wanted to make more money. And then I saw what it did to my family.
Yeah.
And so I had to actually go through the steps of that and watch it hurt my family. Sorry, family. And then I could say, oh, that's not good. I don't like that. And then make the change because I love them so much that I had to. Like, it was, for me, it was just that was it. I was just like, no, I'm not going to end up like this. And then the other thing too is I've worked with so many older therapists, and I would say, oh, I don't want to be going into a daycare when I'm 60. Because I would see these older therapists, and I would just say, nope, not going to do it, not going to do it. And so I just kept looking for other ways to not have that.
Yeah.
So those were my two drivers of change. You have to have some sort of driver to change.
Yeah, and I think with I'm very good at like looking at the end of the line and then saying to myself, you know, you're on your deathbed. Do I have any regrets?
Yeah.
You know, and then like when I was starting to feel like I was tapped out with doing the physical therapy and feeling really comfortable in that space and, you know, being unchallenged. Yeah, there was definitely that door where it was like, that's an easy option.
So the loss of challenge really,
Yeah.
it created a feeling that you could actually pay attention to. Because
Correct.
emotion and feeling is really what is our mover. It's what causes us to
Yes.
move.
So, yeah,
So in your case would be pain. Pain's the greatest. Pain's the single greatest mover
Right.
of someone ever.
My worst case scenario would be at the end of my life and saying that I chose the easy path, knowing that. But I was at that crossroad where I could choose
Right,
a
you
different
did
path,
take it.
Yeah.
swing for the fences, but I didn't.
Okay, so you stated, and you agree that pain was a catalyst mover
Huge
for
driver.
you.
Yep.
Sure.
So, if someone's in a relationship and they're having difficulty communicating that to their spouse, like what would you say is a good way to approach having those difficult conversations? Because we're gonna get into this. Obviously, a big focus of this is the financial favor. So we're gonna get into finances here, but a big piece leading up to that is just having that conversation. You'd be blown away by how many people that I work with. They have absolutely no financial conversations whatsoever.
Yeah.
They have separate accounts. They don't know what the other person has. They don't know what they have. They have absolutely no financial literacy and financial IQ, and it's the most taboo topic that they can possibly talk about. Right? So how would you, especially since you guys have done it and done it so well and moved into a place of not only financial stability, but thriving above and beyond anything that the comfortability or the goodness of the jobs that you've had could have ever provided, even though that was peak job, like peak
Right.
job
Yeah.
titles,
Right.
Yeah.
like what people strive for and dream of, and they're like, "Hey, go to school, get a good job." Like
That's what I strove for.
That's what you strove for, and you achieved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I swung for the fences, achieved it, and then
And went-
realized
This wasn't any
here's a
direction.
bigger fence.
This wasn't any direction that I wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
So how do you open up having those difficult conversations with a spouse or a loved one that you are directly
Yeah.
attached with? Because you're at risk at that point if you're not willing to have that conversation.
Right.
You could be like that the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But what will probably happen is divorce or
Divorce,
breakup.
right.
Sure.
That's
That's
what'll actually
exactly
happen. So
what
how do
will
you have those difficult conversations
Yeah, I
that way?
can
That's
answer
not the
that.
path you end up.
So what I did in the beginning, this was in about 2016 when I was working like crazy, I actually started work on myself. And I kind of got my head on straight in terms of like my thoughts and my feelings and really understanding what I wanted out of life. And I
Yeah.
think, and Kevin, and about 9 or 10 months later, started to do the same thing, and we were actually not doing it together. And then a couple months into him starting to work on himself, then we were able to start to have some awareness.
Right.
But that you cannot help anyone unless you help yourself first. You must first help yourself, and it took a year of us working on it separately.
Is that an awareness that you have because of the field that you're in?
Yeah. I think it helps.
I think
us
it helps.
tremendously.
You've been trained, and you can only
Yes.
give what you have overflowing.
Yeah, I really do think that what
That's a good point.
it's almost like our secret weapon of self-awareness is because we have to draw that out of people all day long.
You guys are so lucky.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's so fun.
Goes
So
back to
easy.
luck. Goes
It's
back
so
to
fun
luck.
to
and
work
easy.
on
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Easy.
Point out your flaws. So awesome. Yeah, so I think that was a huge turning point in our relationship. We always had our bank account was always together, but we always fought about money. That was our if we had something we were gonna fight about, that's what we fought about.
Because you just didn't know how to handle it?
And we didn't have enough of it, or we didn't think we did, or we mismanaged it, and not terribly.
We've never mismanaged
that's
money.
not
We
tr-
just
yeah.
never had an abundance of it.
Have you ever
Yeah.
been told that there's no right amount of money?
I've come to realize that.
Yeah, I've come to realize that.
I want you to think about it. You either have too little or you have too much.
Yeah. Well, you know, we
Now,
have two
it's far
problems.
better to have the problem of too much,
Right.
in my experience.
Yeah.
But you never have the right amount of money.
No, you don't.
If you don't have enough, you have not enough problems, right?
Right.
So where's rent? Where's lunch?
Yeah.
Where's the next resource? There's that stress or anxiety, that feeling in the bottom of your throat where you don't sleep. And if you have too much and you get that first tax bill, you go, how do I protect this? I'm upset about this. I worked for
Yeah,
that.
that's
It's just a
interesting.
different
Yeah.
type of problem. So
Right.
you either have the type of problem where you don't know where lunch is coming from, or you have the type of problem where the boat that goes inside my other boat broke down. So it's
Right.
just a matter of which problems that you have. There is no right amount of money. So a lot of people seek, right? They're really searching for this stasis of just comfort in, I need this amount of money. Well, you know where I'm going
Yeah,
with
I
this here. You know exactly my baseline, right? So if I could just get to this amount of money, I will feel good.
Right.
If this, then that. If I complete this, I will feel that.
Right.
When in reality, you're just setting an internal expectation. When you reach that number, what happens?
Well,
It steps up.
Right. It
The
steps
number
up,
just
yeah.
increases. So at first, what I would love to discuss, because this will be really impactful for a lot of people, is when we first started working together, your baseline was 10 grand.
Mm-hmm.
I am okay if I have 10 grand liquid available in my pocket, ready to go at any point.
Yeah.
What's that number now?
It's actually 0. Well, I mean, yes, it's higher, but I don't think about it anymore.
You don't think about it
I
anymore.
don't really. I
Now,
don't.
why? Now, I'm glad you said that. Why don't you think about it anymore?
Because money doesn't rule me anymore.
It's no longer your god.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's really not, and it's just not. I'm not worried about it. And if I do get a little worried, then Kevin and I talk, and then it goes away. And I just,
So you have. I think it's funny that, like, if I could just have 10 grand consistently.
Oh, I was like crazy. I was psycho about it.
If it was at 9,998,
Yes.
there was a problem.
There was a
Yeah, ask me
problem.
how I know.
There was a problem.
Yeah.
And now you understand. Like, you make more than you've ever had. You've kept more than you've ever had. You have more assets than you've ever had. You have more net worth than you've ever had. And you just pointed out that still that feeling will occur.
It does, and that's. I don't know if that will ever go away. And
No, it doesn't,
yeah.
because there's no right
there's no,
amount
exactly,
of money.
I see. Yes, you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why it's never going away. That's
Yes.
why I still have it, but then it goes
Yeah.
away in
And
terms. I don't.
That's
worry.
what's so impressive about you guys, is because you've come to realize that you are the value. The dollar isn't.
Right.
You actually put it to work. It doesn't put you to work.
Right.
And once you're able to flip that and turn that and understand it,
Yeah.
you have the ability
Yeah, and
to
it
do
it
anything
is
that you want. with
it is nice because I don't have really a money amount.
Yeah.
And so that's like Americ had the scarcity mindset with money, but I always had the idea that money was just the result of your focus, like what it always came
Yeah.
after what you were doing, and I never really cared about, as long as my family was happy, I was happy, and I was spending quality time with everybody.
Yeah.
So that would help Americ, because she would, or I would recognize her, the money trigger, and then I would be able to help her in that, because we were, again, aware, paying attention to each other, lucky, using our eyes and our
so
ears.
lucky and making
So
changes
lucky.
and decisions and recognizing
lucky.
pain.
So she recognized in me, mine wasn't a money fear. Mine was a fear of looking stupid or not knowing how to do something. Like, I have to be buttoned up, and otherwise I feel like, or I'm afraid that I'm going to fail the person that I'm trying to help, if it's that type of a thing, or I'm going to fail myself. So she recognized that, and then she was able to help me. So it was like a perfect
You guys
pair.
work. You
We
work together. On it.
We really work together.
on the most basic level. So it's just natural that we work together in business. And I saw that you didn't in the beginning. You were like, no, and I was like, we are very good together.
I know I fought it because
Yeah.
he's too much of a perfectionist, and I didn't want to deal with that. So we've had.
I think you could have said that better.
Sorry, but you know I love you, but.
Okay,
But
so
you've let go of
I
that
have.
perfectionism
I
a
have,
lot. I
yeah.
mean, it's amazing how
Yeah.
much. Or if you start to get there, you actually catch yourself, and you're like, okay, I know, whatever. We keep talking about it. We talk a lot.
so
We
what?
talk a lot of talks.
So what? So that's you keep leading into exactly where I want to go. Thank you for that. You're making this very simple. When you're discussing things, what you're doing is you're overcoming shame. So there's a lot of shame
Yeah.
in finance. There's a lot of shame in money because people don't know how it works. They've been taught the wrong things. They have spite. They have frustration. They have resentment towards it, like to the point where they actually hate it and they just wish that it didn't
Right.
they wish it wasn't needed.
Yeah.
Right. So what allowed you to overcome so the only way shame can exist is in darkness and silence, and the second you speak it out, it has no power.
Right.
So how are you able to overcome that? Because again, two
Right.
therapists, two top tier job that everybody wants, American dream, and not happy with it.
Well, we
So there
started-
has to be
yeah.
some sort of like shame or despair that was somewhere in there that you had to overcome, because if you look around you and everybody else is going, they got everything.
Right.
How could they possibly? They're just ungrateful. And then you start doubting yourself and you think like, maybe I am ungrateful. Like, how did you overcome that? Because there's so many people that get stuck where they're at because of what you just said. As I had like, not that you had to be right, but you had to be ready. You had to be prepared. You had to be, I think the way you put it was buttoned up.
Buttoned up.
So many people have that, which goes back to how are you able to make a change and be okay with sucking at something?
Right.
Because you've been good at something for so long. Your catalyst was pain.
Yeah.
So how did you have that conversation or overcome that shame? Because that was going to be a thing, especially if you're talking about money.
Yeah. Well, and I think, again, it leads to, and if, like someone's listening to this, they have certain skill sets. And going back to what you're good at. Like, we're good at being therapists. And
Yeah.
I understand. So my fear, and I try to work on perfection all the time, and it's an unattainable, skill. You're never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But so for me, it was this, I always knew that continuous improvement was better than delayed perfection. You know what I mean? Like, if you could just keep moving in the right direction, keep asking questions, keep being uncomfortable with
Yeah.
with the conversations, and recognizing emotional triggers. That's kind of how we worked through it. Like, we knew we were like, if we were
So you practice.
It was just
Yeah,
practice. And it
every
was
day.
writing for me. It was working with you and writing down what my financial or what my triggers were in terms, or what my past was about money.
So we actually correlated your emotional, essentially financial trauma
It was trauma. It was
to like
full-on
what your
trauma.
real opinion with money was. I remember that conversation and going like, what do you really think about money? And you're like, oh no, I'm fine with it. I'm positive about it.
Yeah,
It's
I
good.
said that was the
and
first
then
thing I
everything you
said,
wrote
yeah.
down was negative. And we're like,
I had
that's
2
really
pages.
interesting.
I have 2 pages of what I thought about money.
And it was all based in
And
negativity
fear,
or lack. Of
fear, scarcity.
Yeah.
It's gonna go away. It's a pile, and I have to work hard. Whatever.
It's hard to make and it's hard to keep.
Yeah, I mean, anything you thought about negative money, it was the enemy. And it took me a week. I was like mad at you because you were like, come on, Americ, you got to write it down. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. Finally did it, of course. And then I kept that.
Yeah?
And I haven't really had to read it over, because it's really gone.
Yeah.
I feel at peace with money now, but that was necessary for me. You didn't necessarily have to do that because you didn't have the fear I had, but if you have fear, it doesn't really matter what it is, but if you need to work on your finances, you have to face the fear of money, or
Right.
else you will not move on. And I see it in my family. My family is very fearful of money, and they're suffering because of it. And
Yeah.
I recognize it because I was once there, and there's not much I can do about it, but at least I can recognize it and maybe if I can help, I'll help. But you have to write it down and you have to face it.
So now that you've overcome that, what has shifted in your daily life because of that? Because a lot of people believe that, oh, I just want more money. It's actually not what they want. They want what they perceive the money is going to give them.
Right. Or the feeling that right.
Right.
So for me, that's real easy. Like it's a bee. For me,
It's a bee.
It's a bee. Okay, so for me, I am
This
so.
is why you do podcasts outside.
Right. Yeah.
At
Of
a
course.
fireplace.
Yeah. I'm more creative. So
You're
the
more creative than me.
He's not
I
competitive.
agree with that. By the way.
Yeah.
in some things I am. I'm more creative. So that fear, I had no idea how much that fear was holding my creativity back. And I definitely
There's a subconscious
it
weight.
was insane. I can't even believe it. How much that fear was there, and I'm mad at myself because whatever, I forgive myself, but I sometimes get mad because I think how much more creative and what I could have accomplished if I didn't do this sooner, if I didn't have this conversation about money.
Yeah.
Like this random thing that like just like chained me down.
Most people never have that conversation.
Yeah, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I had it, and I'm grateful that I was, we were strong enough to like face it and all those things. But for me, it was the creativity. It wore me out because I was worried, and I was in a state of fear about when my next paycheck was going to come, and now I don't have any of that. And if I do, it goes away very quickly.
Yeah, because you're aware of it.
I'm aware
You have
of
a
it.
pattern interrupt for it, and you have a conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's my thing. That it opened up my world, and I see things much clearer, and I have more peace. So
I think that's going to be impactful for a lot of people. There's a lot of people feeling that.
I
There's
think
a lot of
so,
people
too.
really trying to solve their problems with money. You don't solve problems with money. You just arrive to your problem in a Bentley when you have money.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Good way of
That's just
looking
how how that works.
No,
You don't. You actually have to
Mercedes.
find
Mercedes.
I like your taste. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I like your taste. Yes. People don't realize that. They're like, my extra money will solve this problem for me.
Yeah.
They just arrive to their problem in a nicer vehicle.
Right.
And then they still have to solve their root problems. That's why money just makes you more of who you are. It doesn't actually cause any quote unquote dismay, or people think that, oh, money will ruin you or change you. It doesn't actually change you. It actually exposes you. So if you're an insecure person, you're gonna pursue
Right.
all the things, all the earthly
Right.
things. And if you're a secure person, you're gonna give. You're gonna find more fulfillment. The
Right.
people around you are gonna have better lives, and you're gonna pursue a mission that is more important than the outside word of others.
Right.
Which is a really exciting place to be.
Yeah, and that's how we feel. Like we
Yeah,
are
Yeah.
genuinely excited because the opportunities that we're that have started to come into our sphere are amazing. And it was great for Americ to get, because money was never. I always knew I could make money. I just knew there was better ways to make money.
Yeah, so
And
to
then I
work
could do
800
more
hours a
of
week
what
to do
I
it.
want. Yeah, but because that was my only skill set. I thought, but I did realize that if there was, I didn't have a skill set to get away from working more hours in order to get more money so that I could somehow get more time. Yeah, so
I could save enough while it's depleting to have more time. Wait, what?
right. Yeah, no amount of evidence there would explain to me that I was but I was aware that I was doing it wrong, but I just didn't have the answer as to what or how how do I go about changing that or creating that pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
But I knew that if find someone that's doing and living the life that I want, you can go ahead and pay them.
Right.
Yeah, and you're
Yeah.
gonna-
Find somebody that's
you're gonna-
doing what you want.
Right.
So once again, you have led into exactly where I wanted to go. And the question I was going to ask is, for people, a very common thing that I hear is, oh, it's going to take so long. Oh, it's going to what do you mean? It could, what if I have to do this for 5 years? But they're okay with essentially being the frog boiling
Yeah.
for 40 years.
Right.
But they don't recognize how little time it actually takes to to make a shift, to make a real improvement.
Right.
You've basically been in this full time for 2 years?
Yeah, solid 2 years.
And the next question I have is, what's it like to make $100,000 in a single day? That's over a year. You made a year's salary
Yeah.
in 24 hours.
Yep.
Well, I didn't believe you.
Now you have to
I
because you
do.
can't argue the number.
I do, because
Yeah.
it totally happened.
Yeah, we actually had that conversation.
So for anybody that's going like, oh, it just takes too long, or
Yeah.
like what if it's not for me and all these things?
yeah,
18 months later,
18
$100,000 a day.
Yeah, 100K day.
It does happen.
It does, yeah, it is real.
It's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
It's real. Yeah, I mean, it's.
That's a year's
yeah.
salary
I know. I
in
still find it. It's
24 hours.
so crazy.
You could take the next 364 days off and make more than you did last year.
Right.
Yep. That's how I look at it.
And you go, I'm going golfing.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Going to get me a new set of clubs.
Right.
I'm going to get a new
yeah,
bag.
yeah. Well, and before
I'm going to go through the
before
custom
that-
process. It's going to be amazing.
But before that deal landed for us, we were thinking that, like we were talking about, like, let's join a golf club. Let's start I was actively having the conversation of
Developing
reducing
the life that you wanted.
Yes,
developing the
that's
life,
really-
and then
yes.
believing in myself and the ability of us as a team to go ahead and start cutting back my hours,
Right.
letting
Yeah.
that go.
Yeah.
And I just
It's a process.
It
I
is a
think,
process,
You know,
and-
you can't just like let go of that without having something in place. But
Mm-hmm.
the last 2 years, that's what we've been working towards, is putting something in place so we can let all that other stuff
Yeah.
go.
yeah, just practicing.
It's just
We
practicing,
kept practicing
every day, every
the skills
single
that
day.
we were learning. We just kept practicing them, and there was many deals I walked away from because I knew that was not. I could have made money on them, but it was a deal that was not going to bring us peace.
Peace, right?
So
There
when,
was-
when you developed that picture of what you wanted your life to look like, what you were really doing was creating a picture and a direction, a North Star, if you will.
Yep.
And that way, anything that, even if it could possibly even provide for you, if it didn't fit that direction, you were able to shut that door.
Correct.
Yeah, we got really
Because
yeah.
you were no longer at the mercy
Exactly.
of money.
money. Right.
And
Yeah,
actually,
no,
we called it
that's
exactly that. It was our North Star.
It's our
that
North
was
Star, yeah.
Like, for us, character is so important.
Well, that's what actually puts the weight to your words. That's why it's so important that people are hearing this.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, it's if we say we're going to do something, we do it and we figure it out, and that's just what we do. Or if we commit to something, that's just, that's who we are. And I think our W-2 jobs for that, because we're good at doing that. We're good at we sign a contract, you do it, you
Yeah.
know. So, but now because we're free to think of how we want, we're free to think of ourselves as business people. We own a business, soon to own multiple businesses. Like it's more free, but it takes steps to get there. So it's not like we just woke up one day and we're like, oh, we're not going to do therapy anymore.
Yeah.
Like we had to start, and we had
Just took a small step and you started to practice.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to do that,
And you didn't have to be good at it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Because the last time, I'm just trying to remember the last time I tried something for the first time and was great at it, other than fencing.
You're gonna be so good.
I'm going to be so good.
You're so
But
good.
I'm just trying to figure out the last time I tried something and I was just great at it the first try. Like, it's just not how it works.
No, it doesn't,
It doesn't work
work
that way.
And it's just okay. And the reason that people don't do that is because of pride and how they look. Like, they don't want
Right.
their opinion of others' social status of themselves to drop. Like, that's the
Yeah,
scariest thing in the
and
world.
Kevin-
to
That
them.
was my biggest fear.
That was Kevin, and then he would get mad at me because I would say, "Let's just do it," and he'd be like, "But you just, that was a big struggle with
Yeah.
us because
Yeah.
I just
that
jump
was
in
my struggle, and then yours was the
money,
finance,
yeah.
the dollar
the
amount.
dollar amount."
I don't want to sway you one way or another in this question, but would you say, or would you agree with, that the wolf and the pain inside your head was far worse than in reality?
Oh yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
No, listen. You are the greatest salesman. You as a person. The bullshit stories you make up in your head.
Oh yeah,
You are
Like,
an expert
so good at it.
salesman.
so good at it. Yeah.
you
You will
sell
find a way to
yourself
hurt yourself.
on that every day. And the minute you stop listening to that wolf or whatever voice in your head, all of a sudden you've got peace, and then you're open to new ideas. Like,
Yeah.
Open to seeing the
Not
world
easy.
in a different way.
Not uncomfortable, but if you're honest, you will
Yeah.
shut that sales.
And that's how you overcome. So, one of the exciting pieces about this is that you don't eliminate fear. You just
No.
Right.
you overcame it. You understood.
You know how to
I can
operate
have
in it.
awareness and understand why I'm feeling like this. I can add a pattern interrupt trigger thought, and then add in a physical action step or a physical piece of movement, and that will equal fear overcome.
Yeah, we do that all the time. That's
Yeah.
it's how we live our lives. Like anything that comes up that's really tough, I tend to take a day and just process it, and and then I figure out a way around, not around it. You have to go through it.
Yeah.
You can't hide any of you. Like
No,
I
because
think-
that would just be you arriving in the Bentley.
Exact. Yeah, you can't hide it. You have to feel the feel, whatever it is. Feel the feeling, and then you have to kind of move on from it.
What's it like not being in a rush every day?
Sometimes it's bad because sometimes I have like I have things to do, and I'm like, I'm running late.
Would you consider that an unforeseen benefit of the change? Like you didn't realize that you were in a hurry all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like
No,
you
we-
have a different pace of life.
Yeah.
Even if maybe you're recognizing that right now, because
think
we've
we
never really
are.
talked about it.
Yeah.
Because
I think I feel like I'm still.
I get to watch that. I get to watch the different pace.
Yeah. No, I mean,
yeah.
I literally
Yeah.
met my mailman for the first time a couple of months ago. I was like, "Hey, how are you?" Is this what you do every day? At this time, I've
What's
never
that like?
actually seen my
I've
house.
never seen you before.
11:30,
Yeah.
in the
That
day.
is weird.
It was like, oh. So yeah, that was definitely an unforeseen thing for me. But recognizing it, and then I like it.
I think I'm gonna stick with it.
I'm gonna stick with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pace though is different, and I just like it that I have more time with the kids.
Yeah. You've eliminated hurry.
Yeah, and I actually make dinner, and I don't have to do it in like a certain amount of time. Like I
Yeah.
have time to do it. All the things that I like to do, I'm starting to do again.
You know what will end up happening from that?
What?
They'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kids will do it.
Yeah, our son Max, he wants that lifestyle. He
Yeah.
doesn't want the hurried lifestyle. He wants to enjoy things, enjoy the moment. That's what we've learned. We've really learned to enjoy.
He wants to buy his time back.
moments.
What you do
Yeah.
is you end up buying your time back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really what you do.
Yep.
That's really what the money does.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're at now. Now that's our next phase, like buying our time, because now
You're
we
well
see
into it now. Yeah.
Yeah, we are. We are.
Yeah, we've had, and anytime we've had that discussion about money, that's always what I've said to Americ was, just buys us options, just
Yeah.
Yeah,
options.
money buys
And
you
like that
options.
was a pattern interrupt for me. Anytime I was having fears about anything, I would just say, just solve more problems, make more money, and give myself more options. I could care less what the number is, but
Yeah.
but yeah.
I don't really care about the number anymore.
That's got to feel good. What's that actually feel like?
It's so free.
Just free.
It's just free. That's
I mean, that's the greatest possible summation of it. It's just free.
It's just free.
Because when you are in financial bondage, it is
It's awful.
mentally crippling,
It's really, and what like I said, I know. I
which
said
becomes
this-
physically crippling.
It
which
does.
becomes
It-
it ends
yeah.
up becoming disease.
Yep.
Yeah, because then even at the grocery store, you're like, I can't buy that.
Yeah, you got to check the app first.
Right. It's no good to
70%
to live
of
like
people's
that.
financial goals should be based around not having to check their bank app when they're at
Yeah.
the grocery store.
Yeah, it's so true.
If you could just start there.
It's a good place.
If you could just start there.
Because then you provide for your family, right? The basics. Then you don't have to worry about that, and then you move on to the next thing.
And now you're taking care of the hierarchy of self-care.
Right.
the hierarchy of
yeah,
needs.
like the needs.
Yeah, the needs.
Yeah. Shelter. No, food, shelter,
Food.
clothing, Maslow's.
Yeah, Maslow's, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that is, I see that now so clearly. It's just so crazy, but I have to work on not trying to change other people, but just like plant seeds now, like maybe seeds of a different way of thinking and feeling okay that they don't have to accept it. They're, it's okay that
They have to discover it on their own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
If you can plant the seed and it can grow, but if they don't discover it on their own, if it's not earned, it won't be kept.
right,
Correct.
right, yeah.
That's exactly
So-
what I was about to say.
Yeah, that's true. So that's kind of where I'm at now too. I'm trying to enjoy my time, figuring out,
Yeah.
how to help other people and
Yeah.
help our family.
It's a good place.
So what's your immediate goal before the end of the year?
I want to own a commercial building.
Yeah, you want to own a commercial building. I love that. What's yours?
Play golf 4
You wanna-
days.
Hey,
He wants
don't
to
say
get
go.
good at
You know what I
golf.
love about that is he actually went back to creating his direction and picture.
Yep.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
He
instead of
yeah.
being focused on a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's a thing.
Yours was a thing,
It's okay.
but that's okay.
No, I really just want to own something like big. That's kind of
Okay.
And then
Why?
I have no idea.
Is
'Cause
bigger
I'm-
better?
No, it's just I just like the idea of it. I just like the idea, and then eventually I'll
It would
just
be
sell
cool
it.
to get to the root of that.
Ooh, I'll have to think about it.
Yeah.
More thinking. Great.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah.
Yay,
I can't wait. Yeah.
How lucky.
Yeah, it's somehow it symbolizes something, because I see it in my head. I see a commercial building in my head.
Yeah. Which is awesome. Like, definitely pursue that. I am obviously a huge fan of
Yeah.
large commercial buildings, but
I think I
Yeah.
see other people doing that, and maybe I perceive them as successful.
mhm.
So I'm trying to emulate them or
Yeah.
something.
And there's a piece of the strategy too of like protecting capital, obviously.
Yeah,
when
that's
you start
too.
making more and more. But
Yeah. Yeah, getting the money moving for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I just want to. It's as simple as I want to own something big and do something different.
You want to know something I've learned after working with literally 10,000 students, which is still stupid to say out loud,
Yeah.
is the person. So there's typically two types of people, right? There's the one that will take 2 or 3 weeks to develop a business plan and then want to stick to it, and then there's the person who develops a picture of what they want. Each one can write it down. The one who gets it is the person who developed the picture of what they want, but not the business plan.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
business plan person is so focused on process
Yep.
that they can't come off of it and they can't make a rigid change. Like they just stay very, very rigid.
Right,
they
right.
can't be flexible is what I mean.
Right, yeah.
And the other person who just developed like, oh, this is what I want, a picture of what I want, and they can change all kinds of things throughout their mental foundations. They have their awareness, their mental cognition, their business and life principles, their discipline and habit, and then their process. They are able to work through any one of those things at any given time because they're like, oh, this will get me closer to what I want. This will get me closer to what I want. This will get me closer to what I want. And the other person's going, no, I have to stick to this because that's what
Right.
I developed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
creating
so-
flexibility
right.
and like, so that's what's so cool of working with you guys and seeing you guys together is because you guys do that.
Yeah, we do that.
Well, and that's like-
crazy.
You
I
that's
do,
didn't-
literally
you
what
do
I
that.
do.
You just developed a picture and you were like, I'm gonna put a little plan together on how to get there.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
exactly
That's
how I
actually
see
what
it.
you're doing.
That's
Yep.
exactly what because I envision it. I'm like,
That's
oh,
what's so cool about it.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what will get you more golf? Big old medical building.
right.
Yeah, like how
open
cool.
to receiving.
Yeah, like, and I'm open to receive. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just see this building in my head, and then you're right. Kevin would.
That's what it would create.
It would
You would go
create
for it.
more golf for Kevin.
Yep.
And I could, and I do wanna. I want some other things. We'll talk.
And then
about
you'd have you'd have all your options then.
Well, that's great.
Right.
I want more things than just golf.
I actually am not.
see how
I'm
that
not
works?
a thing orientated. I want peace. So like I know. I
Yeah,
think that's it. The medical building. I think it'll
What it's
bring in
actually-
some revenue. It'll taxes.
It's
like
going
all
to
that.
bring a perceived level of options and peace for you.
Right,
That's actually your root.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like that. It's more lifestyle. That's what
Yeah.
I'm
So
learning.
it wasn't the money again. It was what perceived the money would give you.
Yeah, it's really about our lifestyle.
Americ's
now.
going to get something that gives her $10,000 a month. I know it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just know. I just
Somebody's
know
going
it.
to come back to that
I
one
just know it.
one building.
That net.
That's
yeah,
probably what it is.
That
Oh
baseline.
my God, maybe it is. Oh, that's so deep rooted. Oh no. Okay, we'll have to talk about that in our next call.
So something. Let's go. So something I want to do at the end of each podcast here is I want you to share something with the audience that you believe would move them forward. Obviously, you don't know who they are.
Right.
So typically, it's going to be something from your heart or experience or principle based. But what is something that you believe that they could practice or think of that would help move them forward in their finances? or
agree.
or escape their.
Right.
Well, what's our mission? Our mission is to end financial
Right.
suffering.
Right.
So what is it that will help them move away from their financial suffering?
So for me, I would say it's okay to think differently than your friends and family.
That's
That
a good one.
because
You could leave
that
it there. You could
is,
leave it there, and it
I
be
can speak to
impactful.
that. I always thought I was my family was the black sheep, and I realized I'm the black sheep of
Yeah,
the
you want to
family.
be the weirdo.
You want to be the
Yes.
weirdo.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. But once you embrace it and you accept it, you actually are going to help your family. You actually will help them, but it's not easy being the weird one. It's not. And like throughout my whole, I think back on my childhood, I was always the different one. And I really thought everybody else was different. And that's not the case. And I've come to accept it, and I've come to embrace who I am and gone through all those experiences. But it's not easy to be different. But the benefits of being different and having the courage to do that and live a life that you feel is important helps a million other people in your circle. It really helps more people than you can even imagine.
So be okay thinking differently than the people immediately around you.
Yeah, you have to be okay with it, and you'll be happier.
What about you?
Just understanding that success lies on the other side of that fear, whatever that fear is. Insert your fear. That's you're going to be successful once you get rid of that. Once you turn off the wolf in your head, because that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just stories that you're selling yourself. And once you either turn that off, or you face your fear and honestly look at it and then overcome it, that's when things will start working. Whatever in finances, relationships, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, like move
Like
towards the fear.
I think that's a viable step.
Yep.
People will be able to immediately apply that
Yeah.
and make a change.
Yeah, because you can easily identify what you're fearful of if you're honest.
It's
with
already
yourself.
there. You can just
There.
ask yourself, what am I hiding from?
Yep.
And if you ask yourself, what am I hiding from? It's usually right behind that question.
It is.
It's right
Whatever comes first, you're welcome.
there. Yeah,
And
it's
you can even
lurking.
break it down to like the day.
Yeah.
You know, like on Monday,
Yeah.
Tuesday. Yeah, what is it that you're afraid of that day?
Yeah.
And then that's a good place to start.
I think that's a great place to start. Hey, thanks for watching that video. It was really cool to hear how the McCulloughs were able to move from good to great. It's really difficult to give up good for the pursuit of greatness. It's not an easy thing to do. If you want to know exactly how they built those new habits, stayed consistent, and were able to become more successful, you have a video right here. That way you can watch exactly how they did it. It's all about elastic habits, what I like to call flexible habits. It adds context to the new habits that you're trying to build. That way you can get new great results. Go watch that video right now.